Hello. Okay, Tansy, and good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin, in the spirit of respect, reciprocity, truth, we honor and acknowledge Mohkinstsis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and Tsuut'ina nations. We acknowledge that this territory is home as well to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within this historical Northwest Métis homeland. Finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, live, work, and play and help us steward the land, honor and celebrate this territory. The sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. Thank you for your enthusiasm and commitment to join us on the lands of Treaty 7 territory today. Welcome to the annual general meeting of the ALEX. I'm Doug Page, chair of the board, and joining me today as well, we have Joy Boulwinera, our CEO, as well as Dustin Owens and Janice Anderson, our treasurer and vice chair for the organization. I'd also like to recognize and thank everyone for joining us today, including Jeremy Nixon, our MLA with the provincial government. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope wherever you might be tuning in from, you and your families are safe and healthy. COVID-19 pandemic has challenged us all, but I'm so proud to see how resilient and adaptive Calgarians and the ALEX, quite frankly, has been through this trying time. We're going to begin the AGM with the fiduciary component, as well as nominations for new board members from our vice chair, Dustin Owens. We'll then hand the reins over to our CEO, Joy, who will be able to speak to the work that we've done in our 2019-2020 fiscal year. This will also include an audio-visual component for the work and reflection on our most recent COVID response. With that, I will now officially call to order the ALEX Community Health Center's 2020 Annual General Meeting. The ALEX has distributed the minutes from the 2019 AGM, as well as the 2019 audited financials to our voting members. I would like to make a motion, be it resolved that the 2019 Annual General Meeting agenda is approved as presented. This motion has been seconded by Dustin Owens, and at this time I would like to ask any board members who are voting against or abstaining from this to make this known in the chat. Otherwise, we will consider the motion carried unanimously. Wonderful. I see that the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. I would also like to make a motion, be it resolved that the 2019 Annual General Meeting minutes are approved as presented. This motion has been seconded by Dustin Owens. Thank you, Dustin. At this time, we would ask any board members who are voting against or abstaining to make this known in the chat. Otherwise, we will consider the motion carried unanimously. Wonderful. I'm getting the thumbs up, which I think is a good sign. Motion carried. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Janice Anderson, who is our treasurer, as well as the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee, to present the financial statements for 2019.
Hello. So thank you, Doug. The ALEX's stewardship of donor dollars adheres to a rigorous process. Decisions regarding investments are based on community needs, research, and funding criteria. Program results are being continuously monitored. The board has a responsibility to ensure that donated dollars has the greatest possible impact to our community. Our board and the staff take this responsibility seriously. We adhere to the highest standards of governance on all matters. In your email confirmation, you should have received the 2019 audited financial statements, and they are also available on the ALEX's website. The financial statements are prepared by finance staff of the ALEX, and they are audited by the external audit firm, Grant Thornton. I would like to thank our hardworking Grant Thornton audit team for their contributions to the ALEX's financial reporting process. I would also like to thank Virginia Trowick, Chief Financial Officer, and the finance team for the great work that they do all year round. The ALEX's 2019-2020 financial statements underwent extensive review by the board's Finance and Audit Committee, and I would like to thank all committee members for your due diligence and efforts stewarding the ALEX's financial resources. So at this point, I would like to make a motion. Be it resolved that the ALEX's Community Health Center's audited financial statements for the year ended March 31st, 2020 be approved as presented. See that David Pickersgill has seconded this motion. And at this time, we'll ask any board members who are voting against or abstaining be known in the chat. Otherwise, we'll consider the motion carried unanimously. I'm also getting the thumbs up, so motion carried, and thank you. As part of our governance and fiduciary duties to ensure the high quality audit process of the ALEX's auditors, we complete an audit tender every 5 years. We undertook this process this year, and the Finance and Audit Committee, along with the help of management, performed a thorough review of the proposals that we received. We have selected KPMG as the auditors recommended to be appointed for the 2021 fiscal year, and we thank Grant Thornton for their past hard work these past 5 years. I would like to make a second motion. Be it resolved that KPMG be appointed the auditors for the ALEX Community Health Center's 2020-2021 fiscal year. Jeff Mueller has seconded this motion, and at this time, we're going to ask for any board members who are voting for or voting against or abstaining, make it known in the chat. Otherwise, we will consider the motion unanimously carried. Okay, thumbs up, motion carried. Thank you. I'm now going to invite Vice Chair Dustin Owens to preside over the election of our board members.
Thank you, Janice. Board members, like so many volunteers throughout Calgary, are the dedicated community members who support the ALEX Community Health Center. They lead the ALEX's direction to provide leadership, accountability, stewardship, and strategic direction to this organization. The ALEX Community Health Center is governed by an independent board of directors reflecting Calgary's diverse community members and workplaces. Members are usually nominated by current board members. They are usually also elected for 2-year terms and then eligible to renew for a second 2-year term. The board's governance committee meets regularly and is responsible to ensure the board is operating as it should and recruiting and reviewing prospective candidates as board of directors. The slate presented to the annual general meeting has been developed considering such factors as each individual's commitment to the ALEX's mission, their willingness to devote considerable volunteer time, and professional skills required to meet the ALEX's strategic needs. Our bylaws state that nominations be presented to members up to 21 days prior to the date of the meeting. Each nomination must indicate evidence that the nominee is prepared to serve as a director. There have been no nominations other than those presented by the Board Governance and Strategy Committee. Board bylaws state that to become a member, a person must be an individual who is a resident of the province of Alberta and be the full age of 18 years old, who wishes to participate in or support the objects of the society as registered with the Alberta registries and agreed to be bound by the laws of the society and nominated and elected by the existing members at an annual general meeting. Membership year is the date of the annual general meeting to the next AGM. Only those members in good standing are permitted to vote. At this point, I would like to make a motion. Be it resolved that the membership approve the 2020-2021 slate of directors as presented. Laura Brown has seconded this motion. At this time, we would ask any board members who are voting against or abstaining to make it known in this chat. Otherwise, we will consider the motion carried unanimously. Excellent. I see this motion is carried. Thank you very much. I would like to now make a second motion. Be it resolved that the membership approve Mr. David Bach to the ALEX's Board of Directors. Judy McDonald has seconded this motion. At this time, we would ask any board members who are voting against or abstaining to make this known in the chat. Otherwise, we will consider the motion carried unanimously. This motion is carried. Thank you very much. I now welcome back Mr. Doug Page, our chair, to deliver his closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dustin, and certainly welcome to the board, David, as well. We're very excited for you to join. We've got a busy year ahead. I'd also like to just take a moment and thank our outgoing director, Barb Boyer. For those of us that have been able to work with Barb over the years, certainly I think her experience, her background, and her knowledge of the Alex has been invaluable. She's by far and away, I think, has the longest touch on the Alex of anybody on the board, and there's been a significant number of times where that historical knowledge and her amazing health background has been invaluable for the organization. Quite frankly as well, I'd also like to recognize the amazing work of the Alex staff, volunteers over the last 7 months in particular. You know, the board of directors is very proud ultimately to stand with you. You know, we believe the Alex and the support for the organization is constantly shifting, adapting and fiercely working towards health and wellness, quality and inclusion for all Calgarians. When called upon, the Alex responds. Each of our over 400 team members is committed to walking with our community members, challenged to change. Their efforts make immense differences in people's lives. We thank them for being part of the Alex family. Reflecting on where we find ourselves moving forward, it's clear now more than ever that big change doesn't happen in a vacuum. And no one can do this work alone. So we look for our supporters, government partners, corporate friends, foundations, and individual donors, and thank them for believing in the work that we do, for helping us move forward. Thank you for being a partner. Barb Boyer is now making the final motion of the night. Be it resolved that the membership agree to adjourn the 2020 AGM. Jeff Monnier has seconded this motion. Good, wonderful. With that, I declare the fiduciary component of our meeting adjourned. It is now my pleasure to introduce Joy Boyer-Renaire to present the report to the community. Thank you.
Well, this is awkward. Of course, it happens to me as my earring gets stuck on my. I'm just going to take the earring out for all those who are watching. There we go. So, Doug, thanks to you. You know, it's what's an AGM without a little IT issue, right? So, of course, it's my earring. So, thank you for everybody for joining us today and to learn more about our 2019 and 2020 year. Usually at this time of year, I'm not only reflecting on the great work done by our team here at the Alex, but also excitedly looking forward to the future. This year, however, feels very, very different. Of course, we have some wonderful forward-thinking plans, but as we all know, the future seems more unsure than ever. How long will we be working with within this pandemic? What world awaits us on the other side? And how will we work fundamentally change? And will it even be better? There are so many unknowns facing all of us, and that can feel overwhelming. But what gives me comfort is knowing that this dedicated, caring team is well positioned to adapt, innovate, and lead through this crisis. I know this because I have seen the results. We have watched our world turn on its head and have risen to meet the challenge. While COVID-19 began largely outside of our fiscal year end, we could not wait another year to share this work. You will see our pandemic response as part of our report to the community, and we are grateful for the opportunity to share it with you today. The initiatives we're spotlighting in this year's annual report highlight the Alex's focus on removing the barriers to care by creating accessible supports and being in the right place at the right time for our community. This past year, our community health bus was finally back on the road with a support from TELUS Health and our community partners. This journey was a long, long one, and everything that could have happened, happened. Everything that could have gone wrong did, including increased steel tariffs for all those who remember that, and that tells you how long we've been working on this project. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that the bus hit a deer en route to the Alex and had to turn around in the United States to go back and get the front grille fixed. So as you can see, it's been a labor of love for all of us. But it did finally arrive, and it looks gorgeous. And while it has been on pause for a while due to COVID, it started again this month and will be back on the community, due in no small feat to our incredible staff to make this happen. I'm also happy to report our dental bus resumed operations last month, and our youth health bus hit the streets again today. This past year, we also began our rapid access addiction medicine clinic with support from the City of Calgary's mental health and addiction strategy, and with funding support from both Health Canada and Alberta Health Services. This has been a really important partnership and program for the Alex, and a natural extension of the work we already do within mental health and addictions, with an ability to help people sooner and faster. It provides quick access to term-based addiction services and helps to fill a gap in our community. And finally, we signed on to Access Open Minds, connecting our Youth Health Centre with a cross-Canada network of mental health specialists, allowing us to participate in and having the benefit of a network of specialists working in the field across the country. You're about to watch a short, well, kind of shortish, video about the work that we have done this past year, as well as some stories of response to this global pandemic. I am deeply, deeply proud of everybody who works at the Alex, our frontline staff, our medical teams, our custodial crew, our administrative team, and of course, our board of directors. And we could not do this work alone. It is because of the work together with our government partners, our funders, and our supporters that this work is possible. And with that, I'd like to show the video.
Good afternoon, Tansi. My name is Douglas Scott Monroe. I was born in Sutuna Nation. My mom was from residential school. I was adopted out at the age of 2 years old, and I was taken away, put it into a religious organization, and then adopted into the Alberta government. And I was a ward of the government and adopted out into a non-Aboriginal family. Because all the cops hated me. Back in the 80s, when I was 18, I was viewed as a arrogant little prick. And I was more ganged up on than I was as a regular native. They're like, oh, we'll just take the charge and go to jail. That's what we do. For me, I fought all the time. When I started with the Alex, I was basically on the street for 4 years. And then finding out I had all those anger issues and Indian issues and addiction issues actually weren't a problem, but I was making them into a problem. And then I was on medication, and I no longer was violent. I was no longer angry at being lost. Next thing you know, 4 years later, here I am, taking care of myself, eating well, exercising and stuff like that. So. Oh, I still live with the trauma. After going through talking to the doctor or something like that, I always have that heavy feeling. And then you have to work your way out of that. And a lot of that is you have to rest, food. I don't have any feelings towards it because, first of all, I haven't been reconciliated with yet, and I'm still not a member of my tribe, and I'm still not a member of society, basically. If it wasn't for the Alex, I wouldn't even be attempting to be part of society, but I am trying to attempt to be part of society. And it's just, the only reason I'm here is because of the Alex.
Social dispatch was a response to, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're in the midst of this pandemic. There were lots of things, lots of moving parts happening. And at that time, the clinic was doing things differently. And we were trying to figure out how we could align and support our most vulnerable clients. And as the clinics started to amalgamate, we thought, oh, it would be lovely if we could amalgamate all our social serving programs. And so Youth Health Center came together, the Food Center came together, Community Health Center came together, and we came together under this umbrella, which we called Social Dispatch. At the beginning of this endeavor, we did a sort of an environmental scan to see what needs, what were the sort of the most dominant needs our clients were facing, and then we strategized to target those needs. And food response was high up there, social connection was high up there, so we had our staff just checking in on our clients, calling, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Do you just need a listening ear today? You know, do I need you to connect you with resources and whatnot? So it was really about staying connected with our clients, ensuring that they had what they needed, those basic needs just to get through that crisis phase.
Well, back in March, when COVID was becoming an established, recognized entity in Calgary, it was recognized that there was a need for isolation for folks that had no fixed address, and they would have nowhere to go, and we didn't really want them to end up in the hospital. So ACES is the Assisted Self-Isolation Site. It is a hotel in Calgary that will provide safe, medically supported isolation for folks that need to be supported medically as they isolate from COVID.
So it was very organic, all the partnerships that grew out of that, and very well established in the need, in that this is my organization, this is what we specialize in, this is what we're going to contribute. So within 2 weeks, we all came together with a grand plan and opened our doors for clients.
I think what's different about our location than a shelter is that they come in and they're often choosing detoxification and recovery from their substances. And so they're ready to make changes because they're there for long enough to make that happen in a safe environment. The initial goal of the program was not just to isolate these folks, but to try to remove them from homelessness. They're also having the option with the medical team to medically stabilize while they're there.
we have a very robust social team that engage with our clients the moment they walk in our doors. We call them case managers, and these are a lot of social workers or individuals with lived experience that are helping people navigate systems, whether that's applying for emergency drug coverage so that they can be on the medication to help stabilize, or it is filling out the housing assessments and helping them search on Kijiji for a new apartment.
Some of these people have been homeless for, I don't want to say decades, but just a long time. Like even not even sleeping in shelter, like we call it sleeping rough, so sleeping outside. And when they're told they are getting housing, they just break down and cry. Just seeing their faces, like how thankful they are and how meaningful some little things are. Like when people come in, they get a set of clothes when they come in, because they only come with the one set usually, because you're isolating, you're just sent from where you are. Maintaining that basic dignity while they're there, having their own space that makes them feel important.
One of our workspaces is just like floor to ceiling, even some on the ceiling, covered in thank you notes, and a lot of our individuals that come through our doors are quite creative.
Like one of our clients wrote, I think he was there for probably 2 weeks. He wrote a thank you letter and he mentioned every single staff he interacted with.
Even though you only get to see somebody's eyeballs because of all the PPE, he memorized every single one of us that interacted with that individual. And he found a way to individually thank them all and call out some beautiful piece of their soul. It's important to know that despite the fact that these people come with comorbidities, these individuals have sometimes substance use and addiction issues, long-term health issues, mental health, physical ailments. At the heart of it all, they're still people, and they still require the same amount of compassion, kindness, dignity, and respect that you or I. And so just remembering that those people in your community are still a community member, whether they are meeting your eye in the grocery store or sitting in front of it, they still deserve dignity.
For those still with us, thanks so much for watching our video. We know it was long, but it was important to share all the great work that we've done in this past year. This year ahead, we are excited to continue to move forward with our bold plans to ensure all Calgarians have access to quality health, housing, social, and wellness supports, to ensure there is food equity in our community, and to walk with those who need extra support in their daily lives. In terms of pandemic response and recovery, what we're noticing among those we support is that they are experiencing a heightened sense of anxiety and distress. Not unlike most of us, mental health has suffered due to increased isolation and stress. Financial insecurity and housing instability concerns are at the forefront for those that we serve. These community needs will drive our response moving forward. We are seeing a greater need for and a greater recognition of integrated care, of health, housing, and social supports. We know when you can coordinate care and put supports together, we have better outcomes for the folks that we serve. Our work to further integrate our services will continue. People often ask me, well, how can I help out? And this is my advice. Be empathetic, be kind, listen to the issues, get educated, and advocate with those who are struggling. If COVID has taught us anything, it has taught us that any one of us can be vulnerable at any time for a varied amount of reasons, whether it be a job loss, loss of a loved one, mental health and anxiety, addictions, and trauma. At the Alex, we will be focused on our top priorities. We will continue to be responsive to community need throughout this pandemic. We will continue to endeavor to increase our accessibility and our capacity to support more people. We will continue to drive excellence through our program delivery with continued evaluation and optimization of the programs and services that we provide. We are prioritizing equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'd like to acknowledge the importance of this dialogue in our community, spurred by the Black Lives Matter movement, and honor the fact that this pandemic is shining a light on inequities in our society. We know as an organization, we too have work to do. While early on in our journey, we're committed to making improvements within our own practices here at the Alex, policies, and in our culture to ensure that the Alex continues to be a safe, inclusive space for Indigenous peoples and people of color. In our community and in the care that we provide, and within our staff teams and within our leadership. We will be focused on fostering good partnerships and collaboration within community to ensure the best possible means of supporting those that we serve. We made headway this past year on laying a foundation for improved wellness, and we will continue down the path of improved wellness for our team and for our community members, with a greater focus on mental health supports and high impact social and wellness programming. I sometimes reflect about what will it take for us to get through this. No one person can do it by themselves. No one person, no one organization, no one level of government, no single funder. It truly is going to require collaboration and a commitment to one another to get through these difficult times. What I've seen so far during the pandemic is improved cohesion and intentional coordination. Conversations have led to natural collaborations. There is a magic happening between our partners, supporters, and our colleagues in the health and social services and all of the greater nonprofit sector. This level of collaboration is key to our rebuilding. We all know that mental health, addictions, poverty, and homelessness are big, thorny problems to solve. But with a community like ours, we are all making great changes to our city each and every day. Thank you on behalf of all of us at the Alex Community Health Center for your commitment and your support throughout this past year. Have a wonderful evening.